Welcome back to the Stebbins Garage YouTube channel. I'm Bill. This is my 92 Firebird project car. We have lots of parts for it, but today I'm focusing on repairing the last bit of the rust. So if you've been following along, you know I had to fix rust, the firewall, the floor, and we had to patch this horrible fuel pump access door, which turned out amazing. So the last part that I had to fix, there was rust in the quarters. There. And I'm showing you this because it's already fixed, but you're gonna see how I did it. And then I got most of that fixed and then all in there. So if you wanna see how I did this, I'm kind of an amateur at welding, but I think it turned out really well. I'm excited about it, and we're gonna be ready after this video to start moving on to getting the LS put together and installed, so stay tuned. I finally have reached the point where I can't ignore this rot in the driver's side quarter panel on the 92 any longer. You can see it's got a pretty good amount of rust, which was mostly hidden by a seam sealer and whatnot. What we're gonna need to do is cut a big chunk of this out. Also replace the floor. We're gonna be taking that out of the 88, which appears to be slightly different. And so I'm hoping that we can make that work. I can't do anything else in the interior, like I can't put the carpet in, I can't put any of the plastics in until we're done fixing this, because we've got to do welding and a bunch of other stuff, grinding. So I need to go ahead and get that done. I'm not running any rear seat at all, so we don't need the seat belt. So we'll probably be taking this bracket out, or at least trimming this off in some way to get it out of our way, because I need to get a straight cut. We're gonna just cut a rectangle out of here, and then we'll go over to the other one and grind the spot welds out of inside of there and replace all the pieces that we need to replace. Hoping this is a pretty straightforward process. It kind of looks like it should be, but just like everything with this car, it's probably gonna fight me. Okay, so here we're working on our 88 Trans Am parts car. This is the donor that we're taking all of these parts off of. And this one has a little bit of rust in this quarter panel. It's not nearly as bad as what you'll see in my 92. So we're getting all this seam sealer and whatnot taken off of the car so that we can get these parts out. There are some slight differences in the way that the fender well is made on the 88, because the 92 has rear seat belts that mount up on top. But as you'll see later in the video, I'm able to modify that and make it work. I did find a little bit of rust in this area on this parts car, but it's not really that bad, and we're able to use the majority of the parts that we need. We're cutting out part of this floor because there's a big hole in the 92. So this was really handy to have this so that I didn't have to fabricate all these parts. I just had to remove all this seam sealer, which kind of sucks. It's messy and it's dirty. So I've been grinding on the seam sealer for a little bit. I went ahead and marked where I'm going to start cutting this. So this is 9 inches from there, and this is about 4 inches in from there. I'm going to overcut this. I don't need any of this anyway. It's all messed up, the rest of it. I did notice mine doesn't have this brace, but that'll be helpful. I'm going to cut quite high up here so that I can trim it back or whatever. So there's some spot welds right in there. I'm going to grind those right in here. I'm going to grind those so that I can pull that part up when I take it. And I'm trying to be methodical about it because I do need to save in there. We need that part, so I'm going to cut that really wide. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually use this. We need a piece like that, but I repaired the other one with just a flat piece of steel, so we might do that. Okay, well, we've got most of this cut. You can see here, there are a few more spot welds I need to get out. And then I'm gonna use my belt grinder and just drill those out or whatever so we can get this panel to come loose. And I think we're just gonna go right on down, all the way down, and get this off in one piece, and then we'll address whatever we need to address on the other car to get it in there. There's part one. That was tougher than I expected. So I still need to do this part, and we'll have that whole inner wheel well that we need to replace on the other one. And then I guess the plan is going to be to get this thing out of the garage so I can get the other one up on the lift, and we'll go ahead and get all that grinding. Well, I got it. Ended up cutting a whole bunch out, which was the plan. If you can look there, there is actually a little bit of rust, which isn't surprising. So that was tricky, trying to get all the spot welds out. And I mean, there was seat brackets, and I just kind of cut through them. I didn't care. So there's our pieces. That's the inner fender piece, and then here is the piece that we actually need for the floor. And so that part I'm going to probably lay some tape on the other one and then start making some cuts. There's the piece on the floor. So I pushed the other one out. It quit raining, so I'm gonna put the wheel on this and shove this thing out in the driveway and make the neighbors mad. I have played musical cars. 92's back in here. All right, so the plan is to go ahead and, I'm grabbing a light. So that doesn't look awful on the surface. It's actually not. So the plan is to go ahead and cut out that square, probably over to the rib right where I'm pointing. And then replace that. I'm going to take that piece apart. It's right now it's got a brace, and there's some differences in the 88 to the 92. I'll be able to make it work. So that's the plan. We're going to drill a couple more spot welds out there and get that piece flattened back out where it needs to go, and then we'll lay the one over the other and make some cuts. And that way I can just butt weld it in there. So I'm gonna work on that. Here's where we are. I took the seatbelt things out. Ended up, a spot weld cutter went through, so we'll have to tidy that up a little, not a big deal. I did start making cuts here. I'm gonna go ahead and grind all this out so I can get a sense of just how bad this is. And my plan is, if the metal under here is solid enough to weld to, I'm gonna put some weld through primer on, and then I will make that piece along here and cut. Okay, I've got my lines there that I'm gonna go ahead and cut. There is quite a bit of rust here that needs to be addressed. So I'm gonna do this first, and that I think we're gonna put some rust converter on and plate over, and then here we'll have to make a piece to mount because part of that's gone. I went ahead and marked my lines here. I've got the piece trimmed up to go in here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and then we'll get that piece set in place so we can get ready to weld that in. Okay, I got that all ground out. I still need to do some cleanup. There's a little bit of rust there and whatnot, so I need to clean that up and put some weld through primer on. But here's our fitment. So that needs to be tapped down. I'm going to drill a hole in it so we can weld it in. The other side, there's another piece that goes on the other side of here, so I'm not going to weld this in right now. We got to fit the other piece first. And then once we do that, I can go along and weld that in. We'll weld this to the other piece through these holes. These were where the spot welds were originally. And then it'll get a coat of seam sealer and paint, and nobody except you and I will know that this was here. Almost there. You can see the red line here. I need to trim this one more time, and then that piece will go right in. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that, and then I think it's getting late here. I think I'm going to call it a night, and I'll get back on it. I still have some more ugly to fix, but I'm finally actually making some progress. I've been working off camera this morning, trying to get all this cleaned up. I got it all cleaned up, ready to weld through primer on. Got some of that done too. And then here's all the pieces that are going to be going in. So wish me luck. I think I'll just time lapse my welding. It's hard to make that interesting in live action, so you can just see my progress as I go. Okay, our floor piece is welded in. Yeah, I'm a YouTube certified welder, but it's functional. It's going to be covered up, and I'm not terribly worried about it. I mean, you can see there's seam sealer all over this car from the factory. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the other side of that now, and we can weld that in. Then we'll put all the spot welds that go back into that reinforcement piece, and then mostly the car here will be, at least from the inside, will be solid. We still got to do a little bit to the inner fender, but that should be fairly straightforward. After a lot of grinding and whatnot, I got that all finished up, ready for some seam sealer. Gonna prime it. And then here is this. This is still not done, but this is gonna be good enough for seam sealer and Raptor Liner. So I'm happy with that. It's all closed up. It's all other than that, but I've got a piece to go in here. And then I'm gonna just make a piece for that. We're gonna treat that inside with some rust reformer stuff, and I think we'll be good. So I haven't been filming. I just wanted to get out here and get this done, but I figured I at least should show you this. So I started making some cuts so that I could put the patch panel in, and it just keeps getting worse. So that's the amount of rust I've cut out of the rear floor. I went ahead and took out the rear seat bracket too. So now I've got to go out to our parts car, the 88, and see if I can cut out the floor piece of that, which will make that a little easier, and see if we can graft that in. There was just a lot of rust, and the piece right here, we're gonna need that because all the angled part is basically rotted out on this one. So I'm gonna go see if we can cut that out. It's cold outside. I don't feel like bringing it in here, so I'm just gonna go out and grab what I can and see if we can make some progress. I really thought I was done with rust repair. So after finding all that rust and stuff, thankfully we have a parts car, and there's a little bit of rust there, but that's part solid on our car, so we're probably going to just trim along there. And I just wanted to go ahead and get that out of the car. So I think what we're going to do next is go ahead and trim this up. We'll lay this over the top and make our little marks. Those holes are where the spot welds were. There's solid metal there. We're going to treat the rest of that, and I'm going to go ahead and make my cuts. I still have to grab the other piece out of here, and we'll put that in, and then we will basically throw it in kind of like that, somewhere like that, once I get it all cut. and then we'll weld it all into solid metal, not that, maybe in there, and we'll be all good. Been working on this rust repair for a while. This piece came off of the 88 parts car. As you can see, it suffered from some of the same rust issues our car had, and then when I drilled the spot welds out, got a bunch of holes. I decided to just go ahead and remake this. I'm making it in two pieces. So this is the top part, and that will go in here. So this would go like right here. So I still have to weld this piece in. This is a structure piece off of the other car. And we're gonna go ahead and burn that in with my welder and then put the other piece on top. And then I will sort the little piece down here. I have to make a plate to cover that. I've already 415 that, and then we're gonna do that with some cavity wax afterwards. There is a small piece that goes right there, and I'll make that. The one on the other car wasn't any good either. So figuring that out, but I haven't been recording very much because it's kind of tedious, and honestly, it probably isn't super interesting anyway, but I figured I'd at least show some progress. So made that basically from just a flat piece of metal, cut it out on my Swag off-road bandsaw, and then used a hammer and my vise to roll the edge pretty much just like the factory edge. Once that's covered in Raptor Liner, it'll look really good. So I took a day off from filming just to get this rust repair completed. We're almost there. I ended up cutting out or making this piece because the one off the 88 was rusty and I didn't like the way it looked. So I've got all this welded in. I'm pretty happy with it for myself. I did end up overlapping that because it's really hard to weld some of this metal that's thin without blowing holes in it. So overlapping it allowed me to do that. And we'll put a little filler in here. Once it's covered in Raptor Liner, it'll look great. Let me show you the other side. It's kind of more of the same. You didn't miss much. You've seen me do rust repair before. I had a spot here. I made a piece there. Made a piece to go in here. I went ahead and fixed a little of the rust there. So, and then I've started on the rust repair there. That still needs filler and a little finish work, but for now I can move on from this once it's Raptor lined. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, is put a little filler on this, smooth it out, then I can spray the Raptor Liner, then our tank can go in, and I can move on to that, which is the next thing I want to do. Get that engine going, get the interior put in it. So that's where we are. Okay, filler's on. Most of that's going to get sanded right back off. We just want it to be a little smoother so we can put that texture on. Same with this side. So, like I mentioned, welding for me is still something I'm learning. So my welds were not perfect. They ground okay, and this will make it presentable. Okay, sanded, ready for some primer. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. This is intended to be sort of rough, and once we spray the Raptor Liner, it'll be rough. So just wanted to make it a little smoother looking so that it blended in. Same way with the other side. So we're gonna clean all that up before we actually spray the Raptor Liner, and I don't know if I'm gonna drop the rear end completely out, but I'm gonna definitely tape everything up. Once I get that done, the side skirts can go on, so at least it'll sort of look sort of finished. And I definitely want to clean that up and take the painted rod off temporarily so we can go ahead and do that in Raptor Liner. I think I've got to drill that out for the brace I have too. So we'll get all that going, and I'm going to go ahead and put some primer on this. So we're pretty much good to go there. I'm going to go ahead and take out the rear end. I won't be using this rear end because it's a drum brake rear end with an automatic gear set, and we're going to need something different, but for now I'm going to get it out of my way, and that way we can go ahead and spray everything. I don't have to mask it all off. So we're going to move that cart over here, set the car down, unbolt a couple bolts, and all of that should just sit right there. And then I can go ahead and put the car back up a little bit and start cleaning everything in preparation for doing the Raptor Liner. The rear end is out. Lots of room for activities. So the plan is to go ahead and clean the inner fenders, and then we're going to spray the Raptor Liner. I'm going to take some drop cloths, and we're going to wrap all that under there, and then probably the outside of the fenders so we don't get anything there. And then I'm going to go here and spray. We'll do 2 coats, just like we did on the front, and we should be good. All right, that went down really nice. Happy with that. Did both sides. I think I might go ahead and just do in here. I need to finish that off, and that way I can go ahead and put the gas tank back in. I'm not sure yet. I'm still deciding. I don't think it needs 2 coats. That looks really good. So here's the other side. Nice and even, little texture to it. I think it'll be great. Okay, there we go. Got that trunk piece done. I did all up in there. It's just 1 coat. That's probably all I need. I'm debating whether I want to mess with doing pour 15 or just clean the rest of that and get about 4 cans and spray it. I think that's probably the best option. So we'll see. I'm gonna get out of here. It smells really bad. Gotta let this stuff cure, but there we go. I'm super happy with that. Hot on the heels of finishing up the rust repair and the quarter panels, I am finishing the underside. Basically, I'm just putting some more Raptor Liner on here, so I have kind of a makeshift tint here. I'm gonna go in and spray all this stuff. I've got a few cans of this, so we'll see what we can make it happen. But I think it'll be good. I just really want to coat this and make it all uniform. Then I'll be able to, I'll still have to grind and put my subframe connectors on and whatnot. But for the most part, we'll get it all kind of uniform. So we're going to go ahead and knock that out. Alright, the whole underside of the car is coated. Got the Raptor Liner on all of it. I've gone back and cleaned up all the stuff that needs to be cleaned up. There's a little bit of surface rust here. We'll deal with that later. I got to deal with a little bit of this. But we're ready to put the side skirts back on. and start putting the rear suspension in. One other piece that needs to go in, there's a little splash guard that goes here and protects the filler neck. That is over here. I was going to just use the one off the 88. Apparently they're different. So I've got this all cleaned up, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of ceramic on it just to make it a little easier to keep clean. Okay, well that's going to do it for another episode of Stebbins Garage. I hope you enjoyed this one. There was a little bit of rust repair. I'm tired of doing rust repair. But anyway, if you like what you saw, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Check out my Etsy store, Stebbins Garage. And I'll see you on the next one. I think we got some cool stuff going on. See ya.